guess if there are any questions coming through to the chat box, if you, it would be really helpful if you could make a note of them, because I've only got the one screen, so I can't see what's coming
I'm
through.
very happy to take care of this. I just would like to say for the students attending, well, welcome to our first Virtual Career Expo, and this session will be recorded. So the recording will be shared afterwards. Please ask your questions by entering them into the chat. And I wish to thank Xero and Alice Williams in particular for joining our Virtual Career Expo. This is really magnificent, and we are super excited at the Career Development Center for being able to bring you this magnificent lineup of employers over the next 2 days. And without further ado, Alice, please let us know what makes graduate programs at Xero so exciting. Thank you.
Awesome. I will do. Thank you, Petra. So welcome everyone. I don't know about you guys, but up here in Wellington, it's a very rainy day. So feeling pretty grateful that I don't have a commute this morning. But yeah, thanks for joining me from wherever you are across the country, probably from your living rooms. I'm going to be talking to you today a little bit about Xero and specifically what we have in terms of our what we call our junior talent program, so both our graduate and our intern roles. So in terms of who I am, my name is Alice Williams. You might recognize my name and or my face, although I have just bleached my hair. I got the isolation fever and bleached my hair last week, so I do look a little bit different. But if you recognize me, it's because I used to do a very similar job with another company. But I basically manage all the graduate experience for New Zealand for Xero. So what that means is basically anything from the moment or in the run up to you applying. So for example, this presentation, so all the campus activity through to you joining Xero and your first year or your experience during your internship. So I try and make sure that you have the best experience possible basically throughout all of those processes and timelines. So I'm based in the Wellington office, which I love. Well, I sound like a British person, but I actually, I do have family from the Wellington sort of Wairarapa region. So I only moved here about 1.5 years ago and I'm loving it. So if you're ever in Wellington, do let me know. Cool. So we'll get into it. The agenda for today is I'm going to give you a rundown of basically who Xero is, just in case you might have heard of us, but you might not actually know all that much about who we are, what we do, what our purpose is, all of that kind of good stuff I'll go into. And then I will talk more specifically about what kind of opportunities we would have on offer for you guys. And then if you are interested, if that's sort of, if that's whet your appetite, then I'll tell you how to apply, because that's something that you can do at the moment. So I'll tell you sort of where to go and how to do it. And then at the end, a couple more things to get involved in before I launch into the Q&A. So I'll give you guys, I'll try and give you guys, if I'm not waxing on too long, I'll try and give you guys a good 10-15 minutes to ask me any questions that you've got. So a couple of really boring things just to mention, but I'm sure you guys will already be doing this. If you can keep your mic off, and if you're comfortable doing so, put your camera on during this. It's just really nice to not have the feedback, but also to see your lovely faces, especially during the Q&A session. You don't need to have your camera on now because I can't see you anyway while I'm presenting. But at the end, it is nice if you are asking questions. If I can see who you are, it just kind of makes it a bit more real. And also, guys, if this is not interesting to you, or if it's not relevant to you, or for whatever reason you need to drop off, if you've got another presentation you want to be going and listening to, no worries, do it. I will not take offense. I probably won't even see it happen. So don't worry if you think that if you are thinking of applying but you need to drop off and you think, oh, it might impact my application or anything like that. No, it won't. Do not worry. And questions, you can either enter them into the chat box, which you should be able to see pretty easily now. So you can pop them in at any time during the presentation, or you can just wait until the end and turn on your mic and ask me that way. So in terms of who we are as a business, Xero basically connects businesses with accounting. Ooh, a little bit, sorry, my mic's a little bit close to my face, I think. We connect businesses with accounting tools, apps, and thousands of data points so that business owners can have them all in one place, and can have them available basically at any time on any kind of device, whether it's a phone, a laptop, or a tablet or something like this. So the aim of that is to help them thrive and grow and reach their goals, whatever they may be. Now, our purpose, you may have heard our purpose before, but I just thought I would put in a slide about our purpose and our mission, because it is something that's really at the core of everything we do. And I know a lot of companies say that. I know it probably sounds like just lip service that we're giving it, but we really do basically want to keep evolving to help those small businesses, especially, you know, as a New Zealand company, it's something that we're particularly passionate about in New Zealand. So we want to make that actually sometimes or oftentimes really stressful journey of starting up a business and growing a business. We want to make it as fun and as seamless as possible, really, for them. So that leads us neatly on to the mission, which is to basically help rewire the small business world and make it just overall a better experience for small business owners. And I'll tell you a little bit more about how we're doing that at the moment. So here are some pretty big data points that I thought I would put onto a page, just because it kind of gives you a good snapshot of what Xero's doing and what they've been doing this past year specifically. So yeah, I mean, I'll pick out a couple of things here which I thought were pretty massive. So for the financial year that ended in March 2019, so last year, we did $659 billion worth of invoices, which were raised through Xero and processed through Xero. So it's not just an invoice processing platform, it's way more than that, but that alone can give you an idea of sort of the magnitude of stuff that's going on our platform every single day and 24/7. And yeah, we're in over 180 countries. And what I mean by that is we don't have an office presence in all of those countries, but that's where our customers, or we call them our partners, are sitting. And there are a few different sources telling me different numbers, but apparently there's only about 197 countries in total in the world, or thereabouts, give or take a couple. So that gives you an idea of our reach. We're in pretty much every single country, and there's still so much potential for growth in the small business sector. So yeah, so there's still a lot going on at Xero. And here's a very kind of classic upwards trajectory graph to show you what our growth has been like. So we started in 2006, and it was just our two founders, literally in a kitchen in Wellington, who came up with this idea of, you know, helping small businesses to manage mainly things like their bank transactions, you know, invoicing, all that kind of accounting oriented stuff a little bit more easily. And now we're just shy of 3,000 employees in countries in pretty much all the major time zones, you know, US, Canada, the UK, New Zealand, Singapore. We're across loads of different areas. So it's a really exciting time to join us. Diversity is something, and people are basically the most important thing for us, both inside and outside of Xero, right? So we've already been delivering some really awesome work to our customers, and the way that we've done that is through the people that we've been hiring. So we're super passionate about it. We've got a really big recruitment team here at Xero, because we are growing on average about 29-30% each year in terms of the workforce, which is huge. I actually only recently joined Xero about 7 weeks ago. So I've been learning a lot about the diversity and inclusion strategies, and it's quite refreshing to hear that although it's something that Xero takes really seriously, like for example, we actually have a D&I policy. We don't actually really do quotas. We have it's more that we have measurables and objectives set into place, but they're not quotas per se. So it's something that's definitely front of mind and we're really passionate about. So if you were to join us, there's loads of different inclusion groups that you can join, and they really encourage people to kind of take initiative and create events and things to get everyone involved and included. So yes, I mean, I've actually not been into the office yet. If you're doing some quick maths thinking, hang on, you only joined 7 weeks ago, you're right, I joined during lockdown. So it's been a pretty odd experience for me not physically being in the office, which obviously would be the ideal situation. But the fact that I've been able to feel completely welcomed and I've been able to learn from all different people in different areas of the business since I joined, kind of it speaks volumes about the way in which they go about treating their employees. So yeah, I've been super impressed and I cannot wait to actually get into the office in the next few weeks, hopefully. So I just wanted to run you guys through our values because they are really core to how we go about doing things. And even I've been noticing this just in the first few weeks that I've been here. I know a lot of companies talk about values and say that they live by them, but the way that we do it at Xero is they're often like actually mentioned, like verbally mentioned, or mentioned in written form, or we use I don't know, reactory emojis on Slack, which is our communications channel. So all of these values here, they are sort of the main things that we want people to be showing day to day, whether it's in what they do or how they do it and how they treat others. So I'll just quickly run you through them and sort of tell you why they're important to us. So human is probably a potentially a slightly odd word to hear, but what we mean by human is basically someone who's empathetic, compassionate, who's thinking of others in terms of when they're, I don't know, it might be when you're making a decision, or when, like, I booked a bunch of meetings this week and the only time I could get for everyone was over lunchtime, which is not great because lunchtime is pretty much sacred. So the way I kind of showed my human side was to say to everyone, I'm really sorry that this is what's happened, but it needs to happen this week. It's over lunch. I really appreciate it, guys. And next rotation, because this was for the grads, next rotation, I promise you, I've already booked it well in advance. It's not going to be over lunch. So just showing that you do actually care can go a long way. Challenge is something that you have to want to take on at Xero, because like I said, we're growing really fast. There's loads of stuff coming our way that we have to solve really quickly, and the COVID-19 situation has made, you know, all companies, but Xero in particular, they've had to pivot really quickly and help our customers to survive this period. So it's been a huge challenge period for us. So that's something that you would have to do pretty regularly here. And obviously, to achieve that and to solve all those problems, you have to be a great team player. So I've been absolutely astounded by how friendly everyone is here. I'm like, when's this going to subside? And apparently it never does. So there's a really strong team culture here, and the grads are actually coming to the end of their first rotation right now, and they're giving sort of little 5-minute talks about what they've been learning and what happened during their first rotation, basically. And the strength of, like, the bonds that are coming out of these talks and how much love there is for everyone in their team is just so cool. So it's a really big part of day-to-day life here. Ownership is kind of similar to challenge in that we want you to take initiative. If there's a process that you think could be better, we want you to take it upon yourself and, you know, tell whoever it is that's in your team, I want to, you know, improve that. And if it goes really well, obviously you get heaps of praise. And if it doesn't go so well, you're sort of expected to sort it out. But it's just a great way to challenge yourself and learn really, really quickly. So yeah. And then beautiful is the last one, because it kind of ties all of them together, right? It's the experience of creating an awesome sort of, making sure that everyone's having an awesome time, whether it's the customer, whether it's people inside the business. So, I mean, my job title, for example, is based around this principle of beautiful, the graduate experience advisor, making sure that all grads have a beautiful time. So our tagline since 2018 is beautiful business, and it's partly because of that. Now, each year, if you were to join Xero, or if you're someone who's had experience working with Xero, within a small business, you might have heard of XeroCon. So what that is every year we all get together. Obviously this year that's not able to happen. It was due to take place in Sydney, but unfortunately we've had to cancel for obvious reasons. So basically what it is all of our partners are invited and come along and meet face to face with all of us from Xero. And by the way, if you're within Xero, you're called a Xero or Zeros. So if I say that, that's what I'm referring to. So Xeros and partners all get together. It's where we talk about new product releases, or we review stuff from the year that we have released. There's loads of conversations that go on, and it's a great way to just get to know everyone better. So apparently it's a super fun party. So I'll look forward to my one next year. And this is our CEO. He's called Steve Vamos, and he kind of sums it up really well here in terms of what we're doing as a business, and the fact that our aims and our goals are never going to stop. They're always going to keep evolving, and we need to kind of realize that a lot of what we're going to be doing in the very near future is to solve problems that don't even exist today. So that sounds like quite an intimidating mission, but it genuinely makes for really exciting work. So yeah, he's a really awesome CEO. He's managed the whole COVID-19 situation really well. He's been doing sort of video streaming every single week to keep us up to date with what's happening at that leadership team level. But yeah, so that's something to bear in mind, is that it's quite hard to predict what next year or the next couple of years are going to look like for Xero, but just know that there's going to be a lot going on, a lot of evolution in terms of the platform that we're offering. And an example of this was actually with COVID-19. Xero was able to turn around in 2 days a JobKeeper initiative to help Australian companies in particular. It was for our Australian platform initially, and now we've rolled it out elsewhere, but it was to help them understand who was eligible for those JobKeeper payments. So the fact that we were able to see that was something our small business owners needed and turn it around in 2 days flat is amazing. Yes, we're a growing business and we are quite large now, I guess, but we're still very, very agile. So yeah. And earlier on, I mentioned that there were on that page, which had all the different data points on it, there are over 800 apps that Xero is connected to. So this just kind of is a few of those probably better known apps on a page for you to see. So HubDoc we actually acquired fairly recently, but yeah, you might have heard of some of these. So we're able to integrate really well with these apps to create or for it's more for our small businesses who work with us to kind of to make sure that the Xero platform is delivering exactly what they want, so they can tailor it to their own business needs depending on what they like to use, which is really cool. Now, I will move on to the grad and intern stuff. So we call this junior talent programs, and I'll kind of explain why. We don't call it purely grad because we actually don't need people to have a degree. I don't know if you guys know that. Obviously, it doesn't really affect you guys because you are at university right now. So you should be a grad or a graduate when you're doing the internship or the grad role here. But anyway, in terms of the grad role, I'll go into that first and then I'll go into the internship if that's all right. So with the grad position, all of the roles are currently open, and you can apply to, there's a product design role, there's an engineer role and a developer role. So you can apply to any of those until July the 24th. You might hear of earlier application close dates. And please ignore those because we have extended them out. So if in doubt, it is the 24th of July for all of them, okay? The reason we did that was just because of COVID-19, a lot of stuff is up in the air for many businesses, and that has a knock-on effect with Xero. So we're just kind of waiting for a few things to settle down a bit first. And we thought we would also give you guys a bit more time so that, so that there's just a bit more certainty in the next couple of months, hopefully, before we start putting you through your paces with lots of interviews and things like that. So the grad role would start in February 2021, and we do ask that everyone start at that time, just because it's a way better experience for all of you. There's team trainings that you need to go through, and it's a great way to meet the rest of your cohort. The grad program runs for a year, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about that on the next page. But when you join, it is not a temporary contract. So I know that some grad programs do that, but with the Xero grad role, you join as a full-time employee from day one. And the roles are available in Auckland and Wellington. Probably this is a little bit different as well to other employers. Our larger office is actually in Wellington, and our smaller office is in Auckland, just because we are a Wellington founded business, and so that just seems to be where the majority of our workforce sits. So that's also something to bear in mind. And in terms of eligibility, you don't need a degree, like I said, but you need to be able to join in February, and you need to currently, or by the time you start, be a citizen or resident of New Zealand or Australia, okay? So in terms of the grad program, it's a year with 4 rotations included. So those 4 rotations are, I guess, obviously 3 months long each. So the grads are just finishing their first rotation this week, and then they'll move into their second one on, I think it's the 22nd of May, so start of next week. And you'll rotate through a whole load of different teams, which are slightly of your choice, kind of subject to availability. So basically you give us your sort of top 3 teams that you'd like to be considered for in your next rotation, and we try our best to give you the top one or the second one on your list. So you spend the year, let's say if you're a developer, you might want to become full stack by the end of your grad year. So you might do some back end in one rotation, front end in another rotation, and then you might find that you want to learn a bit more about a specific part of front end, so you go into a team that does that. So it can kind of be tailored to what you find out that you're interested in during your first year. A lot of people surprise themselves. You have a buddy who is allocated to you, you specifically, and that's for each rotation. So you'll get 4 buddies in total, and they're someone in your team who's your go-to for anything that you need. And no question is a silly question. They're that person. And there's no real expectation for you to come in and deliver loads of stuff and be super productive straight away. We really just want you to come in and be really curious and learn as much as you can and really enjoy the first year. It's a lot to take in, especially with the rotational aspect of it. So we want you to enjoy it and not put too much pressure on yourself to to deliver value add or whatever it is that you're putting pressure on yourself to do. So you're managed by what are called graduate team leads, and you'll have the same graduate team lead throughout the whole of that first year. So you're not going to change manager every 3 months. So we want to give you some consistency during the year. So that's kind of how we structure that. And they tend to be people who've done the graduate scheme before, which is quite nice. So they're another really good go-to person if you've got questions. And I was mentioning this earlier, that D&I, we don't really have quotas, but we have had some really great outcomes. And that's just from being just naturally quite passionate about it as a business. So an example is last year on the grad program across Australia and New Zealand, 42% of all of our hires for the grad program, it was 42% females in terms of the gender split. So we were really pleasantly surprised with that, because women in tech is something that we do a lot of work with, but yeah, like I say, no quotas, so we were delighted. And you know, in terms of other inclusion groups, for example, if you were to join, it's good to note that we are Rainbow Tick accredited. So yeah, so that's something that we put a lot of effort into as well. If you wanted to learn a bit more about other groups and what else we're doing in the D&I space, do have a look at the grad website. Now, I'll quickly go over, how am I doing for time? Just checking. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll quickly go over the internship and then other ways for you to get involved before I hand over to you guys for questions. So the internship is something that we don't actually hire directly for. So we partner. We also do HR marketing internships, but we source all of our interns through Summer of Tech, and it's a great thing to sign up to if you haven't done so already. Whether you want to work at Xero or elsewhere, it basically gives you it's a great platform to apply to internships at loads of places like TradeMe or government bodies, all within kind of the technical fields that they need internships in. So it's 3 months of paid work over summer, which the majority of the time it turns into a grad role for many people. So it's a really awesome thing to sign up for. And what happens is you basically do lots of like speed interviews with loads of different employers like Xero. And then at the end of all of these interviews, there's one day called Offers Day, and you get all of your offers from different employers. And it might be 2 offers, it might be 7 offers, it really depends. And you're given, I think it's 8 hours or like the equivalent of a working day anyway to accept or decline each of those roles. So yeah, it's quite an intense process, but it's a great way to sort out your work for the summer. So go to Summer of Tech, because I know that they're starting to accept applications now, and for example, we're going to be posting our jobs there this week. And just a little bit about how to apply. You don't need a cover letter, guys, so that's one less thing for you to do, which is lovely. We just need a CV and your transcript. So we know that you won't have all of your transcripts, obviously. So whatever you have that is kind of as up to date as possible, that's great. And depending on which role you apply to, you'll be asked for a link to your portfolio or your GitHub or Stack Overflow or something like that. So make sure that you've got that readily available too. If you apply and you don't add those things, I normally send an email just to say, hey, please can you send this through, to remind you. But yeah, just try and remember to do it first time. That would be awesome. Once you've applied, if you are sort of eligible and we're interested in pushing you forward to the next stage, we will send you a HackerRank link. So this is the technical testing. I've put in brackets there, not PD, and what I mean by that is not product design. So for product design, it's a different process because it's a very different job. So you don't need to do the technical testing there. So if you're applying to either the development or the engineering roles, you'll be sent HackerRank. And you get 1 week to do that. And then once you've done that, you are sent a video interview, which again, you have a week to complete. So the video interview isn't face-to-face. It's one of those video interviews where it only takes 8 minutes to complete in total. But we give you pre-recorded questions. So like tell us about a time where you did XYZ, or it might be a hypothetical question. And then you're given like a minute and a half to answer it, and you record your answer on video, and then we review it later. So again, you're given a week for that. And depending on how both the HackerRank and the video interviews go for you, we will then decide whether or not to invite you to the grad day. And the grad day is basically, I guess you'd call it an assessment day. It takes up pretty much all day, and we obviously feed and water you, and we do lots of fun stuff, but there are sort of lots of different styles of interviews involved, and that won't be until September. So yeah, that's a little bit further down the line, but that's the last stage, and then we give out the offers shortly after that. So a few more things about how to get involved, if there were more sort of technical things you wanted to learn about. So we have something called My 10 Minutes, and I will send through to Otago Careers after this. I'll send through all the links to this if you wanted to click through. So My 10 Minutes is a call where you can schedule 10 minutes with anyone at Xero that you want to. So you just let us know if you want to speak to, I don't know, a security engineer or a front-end developer or something like that, and we will schedule that in for you, and you can ask them whatever questions you've got. Code with Xero we have at on the 3rd of June at 1 p.m. We've already had a code with Xero lined up for Otago, but we've actually postponed that just purely because we didn't have very many sign-ups, so that was meant to be this week. So if you are interested in that, please do sign up to the one on the 3rd of June. Again, I'll send through the link. Behind the screens, that's for product design. So if you're interested in doing that, then we have an event called Behind the Screens where you can talk to the product team and ask them questions on the 9th of June at 12. And obviously, if you are already ready to apply, please do so. We would love that. So I'll now open it up to you guys to ask me any questions that you've got. I hope I'm doing okay for time. I think I've still got 10 minutes. Awesome. So let's see.
Well, if I may just jump in here, because we're not really a very big group, so maybe if you all wanted to unmute yourself, if you have a question, and we can have a little bit of a discussion.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I've got a question. My name's Jack, but I see there's one in the chat from Jonas. Jonas, do you want to handle that first?
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, Jonas was asking regarding the accounting and bookkeepers partners, and in terms of the specific project development, I think that was asked in context of the response to the COVID situation. But maybe, Jonas, you can elaborate on your question a little bit.
Of course. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jonas.
Hi, Jonas.
Hey, thank you so much for all the information you've provided in the past 30 minutes. It was absolutely great to hear this. Also, specifically, also seeing you. I've looked over the past few slides, and I think at the beginning, before you mentioned the values that are absolutely critical for every company, you mentioned a lot about you basically send people into different kind of companies that include project development, design, and of course engineering. And you basically provide accounting, bookkeeping, some sort of help in this category to basically help them survive, and you use those values. And specifically now, of course, COVID-19, that is of course part as well. What kind of accounting bookkeeper partners, what kind of support do they give in each of those categories? Like, are you looking for, when it comes to students, because I think most of us are still at university in different sectors, so that means we all have different skills. What kind of support are you looking for in this kind of field? You have engineers and stuff that are not so much focused on accounting, but help those companies by supporting technical skills in those fields to make the company survive.
Great question. Thank you for that. So we don't really have graduate positions where they are, let's say, consulting our partners in very specific things like the accounting or the bookkeeping side of things. We are more supporting the businesses through the platform with the technology. So if they need something, they can quite easily tell us what they need, and then we can develop it for them from the software or the product point of view. So with the grad roles, it's software development, engineering. So that can be like cyber security, like security engineering, reliability engineering, things like that. And then it's product design or product management, not project management. So what that means is more like the user experience, and yeah, how the customer is using the product and making sure that it's fit for purpose. So it's slightly different in that respect. Can I ask what you're studying, Jonas?
That's actually something I just wanted to mention, because specifically in this, I'm doing a master's students in food science, and the reason why I specifically looked at Xero is because I'm at the moment working with technologies that enhance the food industry. So that means we're looking for specific meat processing methods, specifically in venison and New Zealand, as well as meat aging. And we are looking at basically biochemical changes over specific time periods in meat products. So we're looking at basically the health, the global health of meat systems. And the accounting or the development side in Xero, I mean, that would be for me that would just be great. And that's why I was asking, would you, for example, if I was in this company, would I be going to companies and basically give them support about how they should use their technologies, specifically from engineering?
Yeah, so I think that's a really great, I'm really glad I know a bit more about your situation, because if you're a master's student, you're actually able to apply to either the grad stuff, or you're very welcome to apply to the experienced hires as well. And with the experienced roles, there is arguably more variety and more of that there's customer experience, which isn't part of our grad program. So customer experience can sometimes involve what you're talking about, which is that more advisory style of working with the partners. So I would really encourage you to have a look at our experienced hiring website as well as the graduate website. But I do think that the experienced hiring, the experienced roles might be more in line with what you're doing and what your experience is in.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much, Alice, for explaining that there are other opportunities as well. Jack, you had a question.
Go for it,
yes.
Jack.
So I'm studying a Bachelor of Applied Science and Data Science.
Cool.
And I was just kind of wondering if the internships had any data science aspects. They seem like they're mostly either product design or software implementation and maintenance, rather than the service that Xero provides, which is more of that data side.
Yeah, great question. So last year, yes, we did. This year, for the grad program, at the moment, we don't have any plan for the data science, for there to be any data science vacancies. That might change though, because COVID has changed so much recently, which is another reason why we've extended out the application close dates, because we're not sure what else is going to change in the next month or two. So right now there's no grad roles for data science, but there might be. But with the internship, again, that's totally up in the air. We haven't actually 100% decided on how many interns we need per team or per division. So that I would strongly recommend that you apply to Summer of Tech, because even if Xero does or doesn't end up hiring into that space, there will be other people who are. So it's a really great place to find a role.
Awesome, thank you.
No worries.
Oh, hey, my name's Tian. I was just wondering if you could maybe talk a bit more about HackerRank. So what does that involve, and is there any good ways to kind of prepare for that?
I sure can. And I'm really glad you asked that, because it can be quite challenging for some people, just purely because it's, you get given 90 minutes to do it. And there's a few different areas that we want you to do, but you can basically choose the language that you code in. So it's pretty agnostic in that sense, which is pretty helpful for people using it. And it puts your mind at ease, because you can basically go, right, I'm going to choose this one, and then you go for it. There's a little bit of SQL testing in there. We're not expecting anyone to get full marks on it. It's not like an exam, and we don't really have a cutoff for it. But what we're looking for more is we can see your workings out, right? So that's one of the reasons that we use HackerRank is we can see you. We can literally see a little mini video of you typing stuff. We can see the screen, the coding, and you trying to run stuff and it's not working, then you figure it out again and you iterate. So what I would suggest is if and when you do it, to do all of your workings out in the program so that we can see how you've worked it out. If you just do it somewhere else and then copy and paste it in, even if you do get a good mark, it's sometimes difficult for us to push you forward to the next stage because we can't see how you got there. We don't know if you got there or if you lifted it. So all of those kinds of things, and obviously we wouldn't want to assume that you lifted it, but it's just good for us to see you figuring it out. But what we're about to do, and I don't know if it's currently on the website, but I've requested it at the end of last week to be put on there, is you can do a test HackerRank on yourself, like a pretend one. So we've managed to get access to that, which again will put your mind at ease and give you the ability to practice it. So that should be on the website. We've asked the website team to upload it, so it should be up there in the next few days or so.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No worries.
Hi, I'm Magdalene, and
Hi.
I'm studying computer science and entrepreneurship. I was just wondering, on this slide that says how to apply, is that process for grads only or is it interns?
So that's for the grads only. For the interns, we haven't fully settled on that yet, just because we're only, I mean, I've got to talk with Summer of Tech later this week to discuss what we're going to be doing for that. So that's not set in stone. But what we normally do there is we sort of compromise and do what Summer of Tech need to be able to do, because they're doing all of the applications for everyone across all these different companies. So we kind of work with them and figure out what would work for them and what we kind of need to get out of the application as well. So TBC right now. But yeah, that's just the grad stuff that I mentioned.
Okay. Is there also like a HackerRank test for interns?
Potentially, yes. Most likely, yes, I'm going to say. Yeah.
Okay. And my last question is, do you guys have roles for product management? Because I only see roles for developers, engineers, and product design.
Yeah, so it's just product design at the moment, or design research.
Right.
So, but that, that's not to say that if you were to join as a grad during that year, a product management rotation wouldn't come up.
Right. Okay.
It's just that's what you join initially. It's kind of like the stream that you go into. But also saying that we've had people who've joined the development team or joined as a developer, and then they've done a rotation within engineering at some point. It kind of depends on what you are able to do, what you want to do, what the team is looking for out of that person coming in for the rotation. It's a whole mixture of things, really. So yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Cool. Petra, I think are we out of time? Was it 45 minutes?
We are very much spot on. It's been really good. It's about 10 minutes to 11. But I think there are no further questions at that point. I just wish to thank you all, and specifically you, Alice, for sharing everything about that really fabulous program. It really sounds like Xero is a wonderful company to work with. And yeah, I hope you all apply.
Yeah.
You're
Thanks,
ready
Petra.
for the HackerRank challenge? And thank you so much.
I'll pay you later, yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Lovely meeting you all, and I wish you a fabulous rest of the day.
Thanks,
well.
Petra. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank
Stay safe.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.